When the 2008 financial crisis hit, 93% of people lost money. But here's what nobody talks about. A small group of individuals didn't just survive the chaos, they became significantly wealthier because of it. You want to be in the group that breaks, or the group that comes out stronger? This isn't luck. This is antifragility, a concept that comes from ancient Stoic wisdom, refined by modern thinker Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor who ruled during plagues and wars, understood this principle 2,000 years ago. He wrote that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Today, I'm going to show you how to build anti-fragile wealth, how to position yourself so that chaos, uncertainty, and crisis don't just fail to harm you. They make you stronger, richer, and more resilient. This video is different, it's deeper. Most people think financial success means avoiding risk, preventing losses, building walls against uncertainty. But that's not resilience, that's fragility disguised as safety. I know because I've been there. I used to believe that financial security meant having enough savings to weather any storm. But storms kept coming, and each time I felt weaker, more depleted, more afraid. The real problem isn't that we face chaos. The real problem is that we've been taught to fear it instead of learning how to gain from it. We see volatility as the enemy, when volatility might be our greatest teacher. It's not about predicting. It's about benefiting from the unpredictable. This is about emotional resilience in finances. This is about understanding how anti-fragile growth works in the real world. Nassim Nicholas Taleb spent decades studying randomness, uncertainty, and what he calls antifragility. But this concept isn't new. It's ancient Stoic wisdom applied to modern complexity. Think of it like this. A crystal glass is fragile. It breaks under pressure. A steel beam is robust. It resists pressure. But bamboo in a storm, it bends, adapts, and grows stronger from the wind. That's anti-fragile. The Stoics understood that there are three types of systems. Fragile systems break under stress. Robust systems resist stress. But anti-fragile systems get stronger because of stress. They don't just survive chaos. They feed on it. Marcus Aurelius faced the Antonine Plague, massive military campaigns, and political upheaval. Yet his reign is remembered as part of the Golden Age of Rome. Why? Because he understood that obstacles reveal opportunities, that adversity builds capacity. In finances, most people build fragile systems. They create elaborate plans that work perfectly until they don't. Then one crisis wipes out decades of careful saving. But anti-fragile wealth isn't built on prediction. It's built on adaptation, on having upside from disorder. Think of your financial life as a portfolio, not just of investments, but of skills, relationships, mindsets, and opportunities. An anti-fragile portfolio doesn't just protect you from the downside. It gives you unlimited upside when everyone else is panicking. Here's the first mistake almost everyone makes. They confuse complexity with strength. They build financial systems with too many moving parts, too many dependencies, too much precision required for success. I see this everywhere. People with budgets that require every variable to stay constant. Investment strategies that only work in specific market conditions. Career paths that depend on industries staying exactly the same. Emergency funds that get depleted by the first real emergency. This is fragile thinking. You're building a house of cards and calling it financial planning. The Stoics knew better. Seneca, who was one of the richest men in Rome, practiced what he called voluntary discomfort. He would occasionally live like a poor man, eat simple food, sleep on hard surfaces. Not as punishment, but as training. He was building anti-fragility into his relationship with wealth. So, how do you actually apply this? Start by identifying your fragile points. What single failure would destroy your financial life? Your job, your health, your primary investment, your industry? These are your vulnerabilities. But more importantly, they're your opportunities to build anti-fragile alternatives. But Seneca didn't stop there. He understood that true wealth isn't about accumulating, it's about positioning. Here's what most people don't understand about antifragility. It's not about being ready for specific disasters. It's about being positioned to benefit from any disorder. Let me give you a real example. During the 2020 pandemic, most people saw chaos. Businesses closing, jobs disappearing, markets crashing. But some people saw the biggest opportunity of their lifetime. My friend Sarah had been working a corporate job she hated, spending 2 hours daily in traffic, paying inflated rent in an expensive city because that's where the jobs were. When the pandemic hit and remote work became normal, she didn't just adapt, she thrived. She moved to a small town where her rent dropped by 60%. She started freelancing in her spare time. She invested her savings when everyone else was panicking and selling. Within 2 years, she had tripled her net worth and was location independent. The crisis didn't hurt her. It revealed possibilities she never would have considered. This is anti-fragile thinking. She didn't predict the pandemic. She positioned herself to have options when disorder appeared. The key insight? Antifragility comes from optionality, the art of creating multiple favorable futures. Having multiple ways to win and limited ways to lose. Having skills that become more valuable during chaos, not less. Having investments that benefit from volatility. Having a mindset that sees opportunity where others see only threat. And here's the most powerful application of this wisdom. Most people diversify their investments but not their capabilities. They spread risk across different stocks, but concentrate all their income in one skill, one industry, one way of creating value. True anti-fragile wealth comes from what I call capability diversification. Building a portfolio of skills, relationships, and income streams that actually get stronger during disruption. Here's how this works. Instead of just having an emergency fund that depletes during crisis, you have capabilities that become more valuable during crisis. Instead of investments that you hope will survive volatility, you have investments that benefit from volatility. Think about skills that become more valuable when times get tough. Communication skills when everyone's panicking. Problem-solving skills when systems break down. Leadership skills when people need direction. Technical skills when companies need to adapt quickly. Right now, pause and ask yourself, list 3 skills you have that become more valuable in a crisis. Can't think of any? That's your first vulnerability to address. Think about relationships that deepen during difficulty. People remember who helped them when they were struggling. Crisis reveals character and builds trust. Your network becomes stronger, not weaker, when you've been tested together. Think about investments that have positive asymmetry, limited downside but unlimited upside. Situations where you can lose a little but gain a lot. Where volatility works in your favor instead of against you. But here's what ties this all together. The most anti-fragile investment you can make isn't financial, it's psychological. Here's the deepest level of anti-fragility. It's not just about having the right portfolio or skills. It's about fundamentally changing how you relate to uncertainty itself. Most people have a scarcity relationship with chaos. They see disruption and think about what they might lose. They see change and worry about whether they can adapt. They see volatility and feel anxiety about their security. But anti-fragile thinking is different. It's abundance thinking applied to uncertainty. You see disruption and think about what opportunities might emerge. You see change and get curious about what new possibilities are opening up. You see volatility and feel excitement about the potential for outsized gains. This isn't naive optimism. This is strategic optimism. You're not ignoring downside risk. You're positioning yourself so that downside is limited, but upside is unlimited. Let me share something personal. When I lost my corporate job 3 years ago, my first reaction was panic. How would I pay my bills? What would people think? But then I remembered this principle. I asked myself, what if this isn't happening to me, but for me? That shift in perspective changed everything. I started a consulting business. I developed new skills. I built relationships I never would have made in my corporate bubble. That job loss became the catalyst for the best financial years of my life. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the foundation of antifragile wealth. External events will always be uncertain, but your response to uncertainty is completely under your control. When you develop this mindset, you stop trying to predict and control the future. Instead, you build the capacity to adapt and benefit from whatever future actually emerges. You become anti-fragile. So how do you actually start building this today? Start with small experiments. Don't try to rebuild your entire financial life overnight. That's fragile thinking. Instead, look for low-risk, high-reward opportunities to test anti-fragile principles. First, audit your current position. How much of your security depends on things staying exactly the same? Your job, your industry, your location, your investments? These dependencies are fragility points. Second, start building optionality. Learn skills that become more valuable during disruption. Build relationships outside your current bubble. Create small income streams from different sources. Take calculated risks with limited downside but significant upside potential. Third, practice voluntary discomfort. Like Seneca, occasionally live below your means, not as deprivation but as training. You're building confidence in your ability to thrive with less. You're discovering that your security doesn't depend on your current lifestyle. Start small. Take cold showers. Walk instead of driving. Cook instead of ordering. These aren't sacrifices. They're investments in your anti-fragility. Fourth, reframe your relationship with volatility. Instead of seeing market crashes as threats to your portfolio, see them as opportunities to buy assets at discount prices. Instead of seeing industry disruption as a threat to your career, see it as an opportunity to position yourself ahead of the curve. Most importantly, start thinking in systems, not just goals. Don't just set financial targets. Build financial capabilities. Don't just save money. Build wealth-generating capacity. Don't just prepare for specific scenarios. Build general adaptability. The goal isn't to predict the future. The goal is to build the capacity to benefit from any future that emerges. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. When was the last time a crisis actually made you stronger? When was the last time chaos revealed an opportunity you never would have seen otherwise? When was the last time you gained from disorder instead of just surviving it? Most people can't answer these questions because they've been taught to see volatility as the enemy. They've been conditioned to build walls against uncertainty instead of learning to surf the waves of change. But here's what I want you to understand. The next crisis is coming. Not because I'm pessimistic, but because uncertainty is the only constant. The question isn't whether you'll face chaos. The question is whether you'll be positioned to gain from it. This isn't about becoming a risk taker or a crisis chaser. This is about building genuine financial resilience. The kind that doesn't just protect you from downside, but gives you access to unlimited upside. Every crisis in history has created more millionaires than it destroyed. Not because these people were lucky, but because they understood something most people don't. Chaos isn't the opposite of opportunity. Chaos is where opportunity comes from. The ancient Stoics knew this. Modern science confirms it, and now you know it too. The only question is what you're going to do with this knowledge. Financial antifragility isn't about having more money. It's about having more capacity to create value from whatever circumstances emerge. I want to hear from you. Think about your own life. What crisis taught you the most? What disruption forced you to grow in ways you never expected? What chaos revealed strengths you didn't know you had? Share your story in the comments. Your experience might inspire someone else to see their current challenges differently. It might help someone else discover their own anti-fragile potential. If this video gave you a new perspective on financial resilience, hit that like button and subscribe to keep strengthening your millionaire brain with the kind of deep wisdom that actually transforms lives. Remember, in a world of chaos, the anti-fragile don't just survive, they thrive.